on a trade and a 15-minute red moon short, but the confirmations aren't there, right? So this is kind of like walking through the system here, right? So the very first thing is here, you have a big pump on Rose, right? The very first thing that we're going to do is they always sell or close out on a 15-minute red moon. We got the red moon here, perfect closeout, perfect profit taking. And now what we would expect to happen is a 15-minute pullback, which would be a pullback to a certain level. Then we would see a bounce. Now, no matter what happens, this is going to happen. Now, the question is, after that bounce, does it come down or does it go up, right? And that's kind of where you have to understand how to walk through the steps. So once you have a 15-minute red moon, the short trade would be triggered by the 15-minute red trend, right? Which we have here. Now that you have a 15-minute red trend, this tells you that there is a short position at this time, a possible short trade that's building momentum, right? And now what you need to do at that level is you need to decide, basically when that hit, would be about this area here, you need to figure out what's the next move. So whatever the next move is, it's not going to be to jump in this trade right here when that 15-minute trend hits, because at this time, we need confirmation of a continuation of a short. So the very first thing that I'm going to look at is always my 1-hour RSI. Now here, I do have a 1-hour RSI crossing down, which could trigger a continued short. So that's one part of a confirmation. Now I need to confirm the volume on if it's going to happen. And what that would be watching the 1-hour red moon. Now I don't have a 1-hour red moon yet, but I can definitely put an alert real quick. And I'm going to put cross down once per minute. This will be a 1-hour red moon. And for short, and there we go. Pop that in there, whoop, create it, there we go. Okay, so now that I have that, when I get that alert, that means I have a short, right? The other confirmation here would be a 30-minute red trend to confirm the volume is now going in that direction. I do not have a 30-minute red trend yet, which would mean that I do not have confirmation to take the next trade. But I do have a 15-minute red trend, which means it's a lot closer than it appears. So right now, if you had anything on here, you'd be looking at a couple of things, right? The first thing is no matter what happens here, there has to be a bounce. So whenever this ends, we're going to get a bounce. Now, after that bounce, what's going to happen? Well, that's up to the market. They're either going to bring the volume needed to bounce, or they're going to have a push up. And then at that moment, we're going to see that big pull down that we could take advantage of, which is in the other example in Jupe. Right? And to kind of understand how close we are to that moment, I take a look at my volume and I can see here that this volume is actually failing here. So if this volume gets to the 0 line and it does a small pump on that pullback and then starts to head back down, well then I'm going to get a nice short out of Rose. I move to my earlier time frames to tell me how weak it is so that I can start preparing for my move. And you can see here that we're very weak on the 3-minute. If I go to my 5-minute, it's also weak. Then we're pretty much going to get a small bounce on Rose, and then we can look for a short here because this is not looking like it's going to do much here. So once these 3-minute and 5-minute volumes bounce, if they can't break the 0 line, then you can look to enter Rose on a continuation of a short. This is an example of waiting for what we just literally covered on the video prior to this to happen. You're in the moment of it has to bounce, so no matter what, it's going to bounce. We just don't know how high it's going to bounce, right? We're waiting for a 15-minute green moon to go on a long, but because we don't even have a 3-minute green moon green trend, well, this pretty much means that right now, this is a short position, right? So what's a short? A short position would be a 3-minute red moon, 3-minute red trend, which happened right here. And that would be the first area of a short that would be basically, depending on how you trade, your scalping abilities and stuff like that, we teach a boot camp on this particular short on how to take advantage of that. But that's just letting you know there's a pullback happening on Rose. Now it has to bounce. And then once it bounces, it's to let you know what's actually going to happen. You can see here already, this 3 minutes in terrible shape. So the 5-minute is getting pinned to the floor. It doesn't look like Rose is going to do too much out of this scenario. It looks like it's going to lose this battle here. So all we really need, since we got a 15-minute moon, 15-minute trend, is we just need confirmation on the next move, which would be this RSI on the 3 minute breaking down here. That's showing a very weak trade there. All right, you can see the short position here on Rose had a little bit of a bounce there. We're up 61% on that early entry there. And now we're just waiting for a small bounce. So
okay, but this small bounce will always come, or it could happen that you know, that
you gotta watch the volume.
It continues.
It always bounces. See, these have to bounce. That's why we have lower time frames, right? So no matter what, these have to make a move.
On the 15 minutes.
15 minutes is
you will see also always something on the 15 minutes.
Lower times. These are, if the volume on the 3 minute can't break up, then it's not going to show the 15. So you see here, you see how this is failing. There's a bounce here already. There was a bounce right there. You know, it was just tiny. See, tried to save itself right here. See, but there's nobody buying here. So now it's continuing down. You can see on the 3 minute, you're not getting any value. So this is where you would be looking to like say, okay, maybe I should think about, you know, getting into this trade here because it's not really getting that good. You can tell here the 30 minute has all this room here, and the 1 hour just started down. So these could pin because they're higher up. These could pin the 15 minutes to the floor for a while. You know, you will get a bounce, but that bounce will probably come a little bit later as this drop continues. So there will be a bounce somewhere in here. Now where it bounces from, you have to wait, right? But if you're seeing weakness in the trade right there, you can already see it's kind of like slowing it down. So you're going to get some type of bounce here. See how it's building momentum here? But if that 3 minute can't affect it and it keeps literally getting weak here, then I would assume here that it's probably going to go through a bigger dump here, and you could be, you know, in a situation where it's saying, okay, this is where I'm okay putting my 40% bag or whatever at this moment into this particular trade there, right? So it's not like it's in a bad situation, but I'm always a little more greedy. So here, see how it's moving up there? I'm always waiting for that to happen. Right? Now, this is the question where, guys, do you wait, right? Or you don't, right? To me, you're always going to get some type of bounce, at least on the 3 minute. You might not get it on the 15, but the 3 minutes should kind of lead the way, right? So if I'm watching my 3 minute, remember what I'm really watching is my volume here. So right now we're slowly moving up. But if this thing doesn't move, so here's kind of like that. When you're watching volume, watch the price. So if this volume is slowly moving, right? The most important thing is what the price is doing, right? So far it went to 820 is, I think it's a little highest peak right there. So now if it starts to, you know, not reach 820 at the end, then I know it's getting weak, but I'm always going to expect that move. If I don't get that move here, it'll fall down a little bit more, and I will get a move here, right? So keep in mind, right, there are always going to be traders that are setting buy orders here. So no matter what you think, there's going to be people buying here. So even if it falls more, then I'll just take advantage of the bounce. But you're always going to get a bounce. All right, the 3 minutes already had a couple little bounces here. It doesn't look that great. All right. Now the 15-minute bounce, that could take longer, and you could get into a situation where the trade just dumps, right? Sometimes you're going to miss a trade. Not that big of a deal. But 8 out of 10 times you will get that bounce. So it's better just to be patient and let that bounce happen, right? You don't have to have a 15-minute bounce. You can look at a 3 minute, and if the 3 minutes weak, look at the 5 minute, right? And then take a 5 minute bounce for your first entry, right? The second entry needs to be a full 15-minute bounce. That's why you have the three trade entry. It's to protect you from bounces. So the first part, if you take a chance here, or if you take a chance with the 5 minute heading back down, right, which we can click here, either way, it's only 40% of your entry. And then from there, you would go ahead and
you actually mean if you're in control of the trade, go with it. Otherwise, let it go.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to realize that it's the same price every time. You just, you know, get yourself out of bad predicaments. So here, I'm just waiting for this 5 minute to play out, right? It's showing a little bit of volume here. And so as long as the 3 minute shows that it can keep pushing up, I would expect the 5 minute to keep pushing up, right? It looks like we're getting, you know, we're getting some movement here, right? Not too bad. But we're definitely going to get a second one. I mean, to me, this doesn't look like we're getting a long here. I'll tell you that much. This kind of looks like it's going to push and you know, not really have much success. And I feel like it's then going to return down to the backside. Now, the other thing is this. It's, you know, we talked about this earlier, like when you have your pullbacks that happen, right? It looks like it wants to run. Now, if my Fibonacci's here decide to flip, right? So if the 786 jumps on top, right, then I'd be looking for it to have a bounce and then a full back return. And we'll watch, we'll pay attention to that. But right now, man, I'm just watching my volume. If this gets weak, I'm going to assume that it's not getting any better. And I'm going to assume the 1 hour RSI needs to take control here and needs to pull this back down to, you know, lower levels, which looks like it's going to do.
APY3 is more close to short, is at 1 hour red trend, 1 hour, 3 minute, 30 minutes red trend. Everything is red. And now waiting for the 3 minute bounce on to start the short.
Yeah. So you just want to, you know, make sure that, you know, when you're looking at your shorts and everything, just put them in a scenario that as you build into it, you're making your same decision, right? Work through your process, and that'll be the difference in there. So that's kind of what Rose is there. We're just waiting for it. Now, personally, I don't think it's gonna. You see here, look at the volume already falling there, right? So see that 3 minute volume starting to disappear. So now I can get in a situation like maybe I take my A entry here, right? Maybe I grab that in there like that. Boom. Okay. All right. Now I wait for a bounce or another position to come in there, and I get another entry. But I want everything to be, you know, kind of set up and off my moves, my volume moves. I get there we go. And meanwhile, the reason why, like earlier, I didn't close out. So you see the 3 minute here? See how the RSIs are set up here? Bottom to the top. Then I go to my 5 minute, and 786 is actually top to bottom. And that just means that Jupiter's getting to the point where it should be finding a floor here and then starting to, you know, at least get a bounce. Now, when you look at Rose, you go to your 5 minute, it's a little bit different. Rose's Fibonacci's are here at the bottom. So what it's looking for is a bounce. It's looking for a bounce up and then a full pull. It needs it to pull back down. So Rose is definitely working its way into a short position here. But we just need this to play this 5 minute here. So this 5 minute can't do anything. It crosses back over and heads down. Then, you know, right there, like you can just tell that it's very weak. So it's a good position there to get into where we were earlier when that 3 minute failed. So that was like at 1181, right? Now look at us already. So we're already gaining on that already. Oh, all right, we'll let this go because I got to run. But other than that, and I didn't close my Jupiter early because of the volume, right? So the volume was not in a really good position to be successful for the turnaround. But it's pretty much kind of played out there. So I'm gonna kind of like close out Jupiter here. Take one more peek at it. All right, 5 minutes heading down. Could get a red moon. 15 minutes headed up, but it's weak because the volume is weak. But at the end of the day, 30's at the bottom. 1 hour, still got room to go, but I mean, we're up 200%, so there's no need to beat a dead horse here. Yeah. Bop, 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 bop. 0.5545. Hit the 75%. Close that short. There we go. All right. So we're out of that trade. Now we're in this trade. This trade, we're going to put the stop loss at 0. We're going to take profit at 100. And we're going to call it a day. All right, gentlemen, that's how you close that out. But that's the difference between the Jupiter trade we looked at earlier and how the Rose trade is now becoming the same thing as the Jupiter trade.